Echo 5, do you copy? Echo 5.
Echo 2, good morning. Nice of you to drop by.
Feeling alright, sir? Thought we lost you.
Right now, I feel like I can take on this whole podcast myself.
I know what you mean. Ready to send that transmission to Echo Base?
Yes, sir. R10, patch through.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Hoth Transmissions, and today we are going to be jumping into the Acolyte episode 5. And all I gotta say, it's about freaking time that the show actually gets some excitement going on. Not saying that the last episodes weren't, but this might have, for me, have been probably one of the best things that we've seen in live action Star Wars since Disney's taken over. Still some rocky spots, still kind of some issues, but overall, this episode really drew me in. So we're gonna get started and talk about what happened in this episode, because the last thing that we saw was this stranger in a forest coming down with a funky looking mask and push a bunch of Jedi, and then it ends. And now we get a little bit of the aftermath of it, kind of a little bit of a time jump, not too much, but kind of like, I want to say, not as much as Bilbo in the final battle when he gets knocked out and wakes up and the whole battle's over. But we get Osha waking up after being knocked out, and a couple of Jedi are already dead. And then she witnesses the rest of it. So what did you guys think?
I'm emotional.
Fluffy is emotional, and I thought she was going to genuinely cry at one point. She might. We still might make her cry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The worst character's gone now. That's all that's gotta say.
Yeah. Weirdly, like,
truly sad.
For me, this was both the best episode and the worst episode at the same time.
Worse in a good way, or like legitimate like concerns?
Legitimate concerns.
Okay.
All right, Sam, let's go ahead and start with what were the concerns that you had?
The dialogue.
See, dialogue has always been an issue for me.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that today because we looked back at the first episode. Yord and Osha meet, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we've been friends since we were younglings." And then he mentioned something about May always being her bane or her weakness. But then Soul's like, "Oh yeah, nobody knew that she had a twin." So some writing and dialogue issues definitely, and it continues on in every episode. What stood out for you that made the dialogue bad for you this time?
It was a lot of rehashing of like Revenge of the Sith lines.
Yeah, I did notice that too. We could tell Leslie Headland loves Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, it was just the odd line is okay. The odd callback to it. But when there was a lot, I was like, no, it takes me out of it. The other...
See, that was my problem with Kenobi too, with the Vader and Kenobi fight.
We had Revenge of the Sith lines in the previous episode as well. So this one just went a bit overboard, I guess.
It was too far into Revenge of the Sith for it to be enjoyable with dialogue. The other concern that I've got...
Good thing there's a lot of fighting.
There is, which is good. But my other concern is quite simply the episode prior, May was all ready to give herself up. She was like, "No, I'm going to turn myself over to the Jedi." That lasted all of 3 seconds. Like, there was no need for the fight. Although that drop kick was amazing.
Oh yeah. I actually wrote the same notes for that on May's willingness, and then all of a sudden she's like, nope.
From I'm turning myself in to, oh, I'm gonna take my twin's place and infiltrate the Jedi Order. We need a lot more of the motivation behind it.
And build up.
Yeah.
Not that, oh, my master just appeared and killed all the Jedi here. Oh, my bad. Let me go back to being evil again.
Yeah, and the master that I mean, the guy I thought I was using for my gain turned out to be the master. And now I'm like,
you were right.
Now that I think about it, because we just watched the episode, I mean, you guys had some time to mull it over, but I just turned off the episode and started recording. So now that I think about it,
that's right. This is very fresh for you.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, the writing is quite weak in that sense. Like the plot is all over the place, but the visuals of the episode, like really, really good. Especially certain fight sequences, and especially, of course, I mean, as an Ahsoka fan, dual lightsaber wielding Jackie was just cherry on top for me. But yeah.
I think her and Soul's fighting was probably the best for me this episode.
Yeah.
They had the best choreography, but overall, all of it together was really well choreographed. And I actually put in my notes, I'm like, if the sequel trilogy had this level of choreography and attention to like an actual good fight, the sequels might have been a little bit better. Right. Not saying that the sequels would have been saved by lightsaber battles, but it would have helped.
Every single time I think about things that happen after the Revenge of the Sith and about justifying the lightsaber battles like that, it's just not the Jedi anymore. That's why they don't have that traditional training and so on. So I believe it's not fair to expect the level of lightsaber battles. That's at least how I justified it to myself for how it was made in the original trilogy, how it was made in the sequels, and how it has been made in the things afterwards.
I mean, different times, different technology, and different people that they're able to hire to be able to do stuff like that.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Like, when you think about it realistically from the point of view out of like, oh, okay, this is a work of fiction and I'm watching it, of course, 100%. But in my head, how I justified it in universe is that there is not many Jedi to train those people, and it's just some techniques, some styles of fighting has been lost to time. That's how I justify it in universe for myself.
And not to mention that there are 7 different lightsaber styles, so each movie kind of addresses a different style. So it's like, okay, yeah, choreography could have been better in the sequels if they kind of followed this, but at the same time, these Jedi are fighting way differently than Rey was taught or Kylo Ren was taught. So,
I mean,
I totally get that.
Yeah. I mean, think about Rey. What was she taught?
She mostly fought with a staff, so most of her techniques were stabs and more staff-like style.
Yeah.
So, I wrote in my notes, Game of Thrones, the Red Wedding. That's what this kind of felt like to me, because everybody dies, basically.
Basil didn't.
Sam's favorite character of all time didn't die.
I think he's a spy. I think he's a spy. How did he get Pip's head? Kamir must have given it to him. He doesn't know that May's kind of infiltrating the Jedi.
I don't think he's a spy. I think he just he follows his nose. So he probably picked up the scent of it to try and find.
But he wasn't there at the fight, so how would he know that she? Because Yord and Osha lost him, and then in that little forest thing, and then Osha gets a little voice in her head and turns around and decides, let's go back. And Basil's nowhere to be seen.
Well, it might be survival instinct. Because what is Basil gonna do?
I mean,
Could be.
yeah.
I mean, true.
No, I mean, I think that end scene is kind of proof that Basil's not a spy, unless it's one big misdirection again. But I don't think they'll do that sort of twice.
Darth Basil.
Yeah.
He's a real master.
I just think that it was survival instinct, and then followed the scent back to where the scent.
He could have been trying to find Osha scent.
Yeah. So then he picks up Pip, and then because he's kind of looking confused in the last scene where he's holding Pip's head.
Oh.
And
he recognizes it's not Osha.
Yeah, like he knows that the scent isn't Oshi's.
And the only person that can talk to him is dead.
Yeah. Well, now it is anyway.
Well, now he is, yeah. R.I.P. Yord. No Force Ghost for him. Sorry, Fluffy.
Fluffy's just sat there so sad.
I'm sad Jackie died, but she had such a good fight scene. Like, I know, like, a lot of people complain about, like, we talk about this all the time. It's like female characters being forced in. Jackie, super awesome. Had super great fighting skills and didn't feel forced at all.
Well,
like, she was trained really well. And having Kilnaka's lightsaber saved her life. And she was very smart for remembering she had it.
I really, really enjoyed the fight choreography. I really enjoyed how daring she was. Like, but that's also what led to her demise, I guess. But yeah, she, of course, it's probably because of the dual lightsaber wielding that reminded me of Ahsoka immediately. But you can also see the actress's training, because we know her from Logan, and it's obvious that she did just put more on top, and like she did marvelously. It was amazing to watch it. And I really, really enjoyed that moment where she had her lightsaber working again, and then those like were the duels. It was beautiful. At that moment, I felt like, okay, I might be getting a new favorite character. And then
short-lived.
Things happened, and I was sad.
Yeah, I have to say, her and Kamir stole this show, this episode. I'd also say a little bit of Soul.
Yord, my baby.
Jedi Beefcake is now Jedi Pancake.
Yeah.
How dare you talk to him? Talk about him like that.
Hey, the actor thought Anakin blew up the Death Star, so I'm okay with it.
To all our listeners, this is my last episode.
Fluffy quits now. Star Wars has been ruined for her because of Beefcake.
Yep. And I thought...
I mean, the actor's still alive.
Just getting interesting. No, joking.
No.
Sorry.
The Acolyte was just getting interesting.
Yeah. I mean, how cool is that helmet, though, to be able to literally turn off lightsabers?
I was wondering, is that like some kind of Beskar? Because he had it on his arms too. And
I don't know, but I want one. Like
Because I'm wondering if it
design
has
is
like,
weird.
yeah, I don't care for the design at all. The helmet looks very awkward, and it probably is just because of the rest of his style. Because I know last episode I was like, oh, it's definitely got to be a female. It's Vanessa. But he's just so skinny, and they're hiding a lot of them to try and push to kind of like throw us off.
Yeah.
And then once his helmet was off, and then he takes off the cloak, I'm like, okay, now he looks cool. Like if he came in like that, then he would have looked so much cooler. But I mean, I get why he's wearing a helmet because he even mentioned it. He's like, well, it's like why first Discovery? He's like, well, I was wearing a helmet,
Yeah.
The thing is,
which I
though,
thought was funny.
in hindsight, yeah, that's also, I found it funny that he kept at least some of his character personality as Chimere. But what I found sad that I mean, it was so obvious. It was not well done. In the fourth episode, we were all like, okay, so Chimere is the master, whatever, apprentice, Sith. But we all said that, and I really thought there was a more like clever twist behind it. But no, it was the obvious answer. So I really do hope, at least, that we get to see him as the apprentice, and there is actually a Sith Lord behind him.
Well, okay, so I've got a different thinking about this. So I don't think they're going to be tapping into the whole Sith arc because when Soul is talking to him, he's like, "You fight like a Jedi" and stuff like that. And he's like, "Well, so what's your name?" And he's like, "Well, I don't have a name, but you Jedi would call me a Sith." And when he goes and finds, going to do it in air quotes, May laying on the ground with a cut, Kylo Ren's theme is playing a little bit. So I'm wondering if this actually becomes more of an origin of the Knights of Ren. Like
See,
this is the start.
I just want to throw this one out there as well, that his helmet is very similar in terms of design, especially
To
like
Kylo's.
yeah. Not the front piece per se, but the rest
The back
of
piece.
it. Yeah, the back and the
Yeah,
top.
Yeah, because Hasbro actually released the Black Series helmet for the Stranger, and I think that's the official title of him, is called the Stranger. And I don't know if I sent it to you guys, but I'll send it to you guys after the podcast. But you look at the helmet because it gives you a couple different angles, and the front, very ugly. I'm not gonna buy it, but you turn it, but then it gives you like the side angle, and the back half definitely looks like the back half of Kylo's. Doing okay, Fluffy?
No, I am shooketh.
Do you need to talk about it? This is a safe space.
I do need to talk about it. He died. I mean, I knew he was gonna die. I expected it because of you guys asking to watch the episode with me, so I knew something was gonna happen.
Because it's been a really good episode, and we wanted to watch it again.
Nope. You know what we talked about. I asked you, did he die? Like, at least he didn't die within the first 5 minutes, and he was his usual intense self asking the weirdest and stupidest questions, but still.
What a headset, though. Bro.
I'm not a fan of how he died. Like,
No.
don't get me wrong, you know, I can.
He died way too quickly.
The fact that he had his head, you know, all that happened. Like, it was just, it kind of felt a bit like, well, you've just killed Jackie and you've killed all the other Jedi with your lightsaber. Why now? Like, why does he get the special treatment? It just,
yeah.
He did have a good entrance, though. Like, he knew the helmet would be a good defense. And him jumping in there, using the Force to pull the helmet and using the helmet as kind of like a shield was kind of cool. It's like, okay, this is a Jedi Knight. sword and shield, let's go, even though it's a helmet. But
Yeah.
he was very smart for doing it, but he underestimated his opponent. It's like, dude, he just killed everybody, and you're jumping in and being a little reckless. Like, stand with Soul. Like, you see, Jackie's your apprentice, and she's down on the ground over there.
Yeah, but that was this thing. He didn't understand things. He was just beautiful.
And he was injured because he already got a hit on the leg.
Which, by the way, he'd managed to quickly run off.
Recover, yeah. I mean, Jedi. You can attune that to Jedi or adrenaline.
Did anybody...
I've seen adrenaline do some crazy stuff.
Yeah. Was it me, or did Chimera use the Force to heal Oshi?
I don't know if he was or not.
Because it kind of looked like, I don't know whether it was how the cameras and the lighting worked, but when he moved Oshi over, it looked like the wound was healing very quickly.
So here comes another writing issue for me. Is May has been his focus this entire episode, and which gave us some false plot armor on a couple of characters. Like Jackie, I thought she was going to die, and then she turns around and he's gone because he's chasing May. I was like, okay, so you're Jackie and Soul, they're going to be the survivors. So they gave us some false hope and false plot armor there. It's just to save their deaths for the end for a more shocking reveal. And then when Jackie and Soul are fighting him, he has May push up against a rock, and he goes in for a stab to try and kill her. And then Jackie and Soul come in and deflect it. And then prior to that, he's one-on-one with her, and he goes in for a slice, but he just cuts off the cuffs. So I really don't understand what his intentions this entire episode was with May, because at one point I thought he was just probably going to forgive her, but torture the heck out of her until she remembered how powerful he is or something. And then the next moment he's trying to stab her and kill her. And then the final scene, he's sitting there trying to heal her, which he doesn't even know it's Osha. And I have some interesting thoughts about that too.
I think he does. I think he knows that's Osha.
Oh, which is probably why he didn't kill her.
Mm-hmm. I think he does know that it's Osha, which it just makes the whole episode even more convoluted. At the moment, I don't understand any of the motives and any of the, like, at this moment in the show, I have 0 theories, which
I have some theories.
I don't think that's a good thing for me, because usually I have like, oh, this is going to go this way or that way, but at this moment in time, nothing.
Well, when you kill off a bunch of characters like that, and then you just leave a handful, especially 2 that switch places, it's kind of hard to kind of like figure out what's going to happen next. Like, I know May was arguing with Osha saying, okay, well, the Jedi brainwashed you. Like, come with me. Let's go back to our roots and remember our witch coven and go back to that. It's just me and you against the world now. And Osha the whole time said, no, I'm here to arrest you. So it's very interesting because now they're switching roles. And because she says the Jedi brainwashed her, and because Osha's like, oh, you're the one that started the fire. She's like, well, they brainwashed you. So that's not really what happened. Because like we've been saying since that flashback episode that we're seeing things from Osha's perspective. So I think we're going to start getting the other perspectives now. And so, excuse me. So May is now going into the Jedi Order. And if the Jedi don't recognize her or feel something off with her, that just proves how arrogant the Jedi are and how disassociated they are with, or how confident they are with their skills. And my theory is Chimera is going to change Osha. Osha is probably going to become the evil one, and I think May's going to become the good one.
That's a good theory.
But it's just too late in the series for it.
Yeah, you can kind of see it happening, but we're over halfway now.
And they're only giving us 30-minute episodes, so I mean, if they're going to go on with that story, they need to give us longer episodes, at least an hour, to be able to cover that. And with 3 episodes left, like, and you only have May, Osha, and Soul, and then Khmer. Like, what else are we going to see? Like, where can the story go on from here other than them switching places?
I think we are going to have multiple seasons of Acolyte. I don't know if that would be necessary, but I think
They cancel them.
Have.
Mhm.
And at this point, I totally agree with you. It is so easy to differentiate Osha and May. And if Jedi really don't see that, that would be unbelievable. But the only way at the moment that I see that I would be really happy with this show is that Soul actually turns out to be very, very dark, just like Khmer suggested that he is. And he actually was the reason behind that fire, or even if he was not, that he somehow manipulated, mind controlled, whatever, to believe that May was the reason why the slaughter in her home happened. And it was actually the Jedi all along. Because at this point, from what I see from the Jedi Order, I can also just as easily believe that they manipulated the truth in a way that just would benefit their agenda.
Yeah, and Soul should have killed Khmer right there. He had the opportunity. He was going for the slice, and Osha stops him. And if he didn't stop from killing Khmer, then Osha wouldn't be questioning his darkness or whatnot. And it kind of reminded me of the whole Mace Windu versus Palpatine moment, and then Anakin coming in saying, "No, he needs a trial," because then Soul turns off his lightsaber and backs away, and then the flying roly polies come down and take him apart, and it's like, as Sam always said, no body, no death. So chop the head off, he's done.
I want to know what Soul's secret is. He was.
So did Khmer. I've accepted my darkness. What's yours?
Yeah, because Soul was all ready to tell Oshi, or he was going to explain. And so obviously, we're going to get an episode of that, which will probably also have the flashbacks in it of what the Jedi did on the day that.
And I'm betting you that's next episode.
I can see it being next episode. Yeah, end of the day, we've got 3 episodes left.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not next episode, then there's no point in doing it.
I think it would be because I think it would be a bad finale to end on a flashback.
Yeah. I'm thinking that's also a thing. Even if I can come up with a theory on like who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, if there is like a Sith Lord and an apprentice, and who's the acolyte, and like what's the motivation and this and that, I cannot see the end of the show at all. That's why I thought maybe there is more than 1 seasons.
I think they originally planned extra seasons and a spinoff, but I think because of all the backlash and the low ratings this show has gotten, that it's in rumor mill that everything has been canceled.
Yeah, I just thought I'd have a quick Google of it to see.
And it's even a rumor that that spin-offs and extra seasons was a thing to begin with.
Yeah.
At all.
I would be happy with one season of this because it's not lived up to the name. Because, like, where do we go from here? They've explained what the Acolyte is and what it does. They've just gone in complete opposite direction to it. So I'd say, just kill off everybody.
And Kamir and Osha go off in the sunset and start the Knights of Ren.
An early Order 66, and everybody wins.
I'm not going to lie. I would not be upset if the final 3 episodes was about Kamir. This episode has made him... He stepped up a lot. And he's a very good introduction to this show. I think... Because what have I been saying since the beginning of the show? About May being an Acolyte. It's like, I want a darker version. Like, I want a dark Sith or evil person. And I think Kamir coming out and revealing himself this way really stepped that up and kind of hit my expectations for what I wanted to see in a dark side user. Because I love the line that he said. What was it? I wrote it down. It's basically, I want the freedom to be able to wield the Force as I choose, but the Jedi are the ones that are making the rules. And then he later goes on and he's like, oh yeah, if you don't follow the rules, then you don't have to break them.
Yeah.
And it's very, very dark side user is. It's like, no, I want to use these how I want to use them. And he is also not wrong. The Jedi are the ones that make the rules on how to use the Force.
The problem is, if they planned it in multiple seasons, but if they're going to cancel or change their strategy, approach, whatever, just because of the feedback that this season got, then why are we even watching this? Because
I don't think they will, because I mean the sequels got a lot of backlash, and here Disney is still trying different things and doing different things. So I don't think even if this is considered a failure, which I'm really sad that it had to take this long for the show to really like pick up and kind of like show its feathers, that even if it does fail and gets low scores, I don't think they should stop trying to do things in the High Republic era. Because there's so much potential there. Like, yeah, bringing on writers that have nothing, that never seen Star Wars, mixed in with people that have seen Star Wars, like, kind of a bad idea. But
you're right.
Learn from that and jump into another project and bring in people that have written past Star Wars projects and go on with that.
You're right with the era. Yeah, for sure. But what happens to this story? Like, I am invested. I watched 5 episodes. And if
Kamir doesn't die, I'd love to see a spin-off with him.
I still do not think he is the Sith Lord. I still think he's the apprentice.
I still don't think he's Sith. Because he said, I don't have a name, but you Jedi would call me a Sith. So I don't think he sees himself as a Sith. Which changes everything about a lot of the theories, like, oh, well, dark side users are Sith and Sith have been extinct for millennia. That could still work because he's not considering himself a Sith. He's just some dark side user.
Oh, I don't know.
Or he's just somebody, or he's just someone that wants to use the Force the way that he wants and doesn't want to be told how to do it.
That's
a rebellious character, anarchist.
From what he said, yeah, you're right. From that line, I would assume that he would not be working with someone else.
But you do still have the theory that Indara's alive.
I'll wait
for you to finish. Because you did bring up an interesting point about the Acolyte on Disney Plus, like the cover photo.
Yeah.
So I'll let you jump into that. Just kind of throwing it so you can, because Because you said you didn't have any theories, and I think this is the only theory that you're kind of like holding on to it. Or
Look.
got.
There is something fishy. We have Torben having a perfectly normal face. I don't know if normal is the right word for it, but like perfect skin face, whatever. And then him getting a scar. We know from the trailers that Kelnaka is fighting someone. That footage we haven't seen yet. And we see Indara's character, Carrie-Anne Moss, Carrie-Anne Moss's character, Indara, being pushed to the forefront of posters, thumbnails, this and that. So there's still things that we need to unpack. But at this point, I honestly do not know. And I think, I mean, if Soul turns out to be much darker than he seems, because he is giving, like, especially with his attachment to Asha and with his attachment to Jackie, he's giving strong Anakin vibes. So I feel for him to fall, for him to switch to the dark side without even realizing what he's doing because of the entire situation of the Jedi, it's plausible to me. But I truly want to see something bigger. I don't want to see one single person and their weaknesses and this and that. Sure, if it was written completely differently from the first episode on, sure, I would be on board with that. But from how it was presented to me from the first episode on, I am still waiting for an incredible plot twist with revealing a big bad that I would love to see more of. That's how I can explain my feelings about this entire 5 episode arc so far.
And it's sad because I think they were trying to do that with Khmer, but he was obvious from the start.
Yeah.
Especially last episode. Like,
Exactly.
nobody was fooled by that. Everybody expected that.
Yeah.
Even though I thought it was Vanessa, but still.
If this is it, if we get to just see Chimere as the big bad, then I will be very, very disappointed, because in the 4th episode, it was so super obvious, and we said it, we recorded it. We thought it was so obvious that it has to be a red herring.
Yeah.
And then I was gonna say, and one thing that I found very interesting, which I thought was dumb, this was another red flag for me, was May brings all the roly-poly flying things back with her, right? To attack Khmer. He's the one that he gets pulled up by all the bug creatures.
Yeah.
They're attracted to light. Khmer's the only one with a lightsaber on, and she goes up and attaches Pip's head with a light on it. To me, I was like, well, he's already got his lightsaber on, so they're already going to be attracted to him. So I thought it was pointless for her to put Pip on him. Because he doesn't know.
Plot armor.
Yeah. And I knew he wasn't going to die by those creatures anyway. Like, let's be real. He just took out 8 Jedi. He's not going to be taken out by lesser beings.
Exactly. Even if we saw, even if we didn't see him at all for the episode, we would have still, like, Sam would have 100% said we didn't see the body.
Yeah.
So it's going to be that.
No, you're not wrong. I genuinely would have said, we haven't seen the body, he's still alive. And he is still alive.
Yeah, he is. And we saw it, and there's no reason for us to have theories about it. He was completely, like, perfect. And I am 95% sure he knew that it was Asha. And that's why he was also very gentle, because I think that's going to be another point of manipulation.
which could be.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're upset about Jedi Beefcake, but now you got Sith Beefcake.
Yes. At
The
least
bro is jacked.
because Jedi Beefcake, may he rest in peace, is gone. But
Always looking to the right.
but if we get the stranger with his sleeveless situation for the rest of the season, I'm gonna be at least feeling a bit better about what happened, because honestly, I am distraught. I am sad. I am disappointed. And I will be mourning for the rest of the month, at least.
Until the show ends. Until you
Yeah.
get distracted with another Star Wars show to
Until
take you
another
away from it.
beefcake appears. Until there is another beefcake encounter, I will be mourning.
That's fair. Because sadly, I don't think there'll be any flashbacks with Jackie and Yord. Because they're the present characters.
I wouldn't mind a flashback if we were to get a flashback of Yord and Oshi at the academy.
I mean, honestly, like that whole relationship just seemed pointless to me because they didn't really do anything with it.
Oh yeah, it was a complete waste of everybody's time. But if we were to,
Hello.
see it,
How dare you?
So another thing that I found interesting is May could have killed Soul to redeem herself with the stranger, with Kamir. Instead,
Yeah.
she just stuns him.
and this kind of goes back to why this was the best but worst episode for me, because as a whole, there's so many plot holes in it, but the action scenes kind of
Redeemed it?
overall, yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same thing. I'm thinking about it, and there is, of course, Beefcake's death, Jackie's death. But other than that, it was full of plot holes, it was full of bad writing, but the fight sequences were incredibly well choreographed and visuals were amazing. So it's just unfortunate. It redeems it because, again, just like we said a million times before this, we did not fall in love with Star Wars because of its incredible writing. No. We did it because of its visuals. We did it because of the laser swords. So
Yeah.
The one thing that drew me into Star Wars is I've always loved medieval and fantasy. So when it comes to like wizards and swords and like epic battles, Star Wars drew me in. It became a space medieval format for me because you got lightsabers, you got the Force, which is kind of like magic, and it pulls you in. So I mean, Star Wars has a lot of bad writing, except for the originals. The originals are perfect, but everything else. I see you laughing.
I will.
But jokes aside, Star Wars is just meant to be a fun adventure to kind of like pull you out of reality.
Yeah.
Like every piece of fiction.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. I wish we were able to say things like, oh, wow, this was so well written.
Rebels.
Like, it just happens so rarely that we have to admit
Yeah.
the studios go for quantity over quality. But it's still, I mean, it gave me one of the best lightsaber sequences
I have to
in
agree.
the history of
Live action Star Wars.
action. Exactly. So,
But can we talk about Chimera a little bit though? Like how like the entire fight, like I was so worried about him taking on 8 Jedi. And here all his movements were so like precise, fluid, and just so smooth that I remember like last episode, I was like, I don't want them to make a dark side user or Sith that can easily take out 8 Jedi. Now I see it and how the court, like, just his movements just made me believe it. I was like, okay, yeah, these Jedi's, they're just, you can tell he's been training to fight while they're just been training to defend. Like,
Yeah.
they just go through the motions of it because they're so cocky and arrogant, going, oh yeah, because he even says it. He's like, the Jedi say I can't exist, and so if the Jedi say he can't exist, then why are they going to actually train for it rather than just go through the motions? And you could tell that these Jedi went through the motions and didn't actually train. And it wasn't up until the Clone Wars that the Jedi actually had to really like up their game on training. And then you produce people like Anakin and Obi-Wan, because even Obi-Wan struggled against Darth Maul until he let his anger go through.
I mean, we have to think about how many actual fights that the Jedi has been in until the Clone Wars.
Mostly blaster fights, mostly like defending the galaxy against pirates and stuff like that.
They were always overwhelmingly better than their opponents until the droids started overwhelming them with their sheer number, and then
That's the only reason. Because they're
Yeah.
stupid droids. Comedy.
exactly.
When I say stupid, I mean comedy stupid.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right about that. And now we see like a very capable dark side user against numerous Jedi. To be fair, also Jedi are really not good at picking their fights, because when you're in such small quarters, attacking 8 people all at once to one opponent, I think that also didn't make sense a lot. Like, they really lack serious battle strategies and experience.
Yeah, I mean, trees were good shields for a little bit. Poor trees. Not only did we lose 7 Jedi, we lost several trees.
We did.
And I do have to say, I really did love the environment that they chose for this fight.
Yeah.
Like, perfect amount of darkness to where, like, when you watch Game of Thrones and they had some like those dark fight scenes, like towards the end, and it's like you have to squint at your screen to kind of see if you can see anything. They put the right amount of darkness and the right amount of lighting to where you're not sitting there having to struggle to see what the scene's actually doing. And that's probably also because the lightsabers kind of help with that too. But the environment itself and the setting and everything, like, really well done. Pacing a little off, but environment, scenery, solid.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. You know, the scenery was impeccable for how the fight was. One thing that I didn't like about the Chimera versus 8 Jedi or 7 or 6, however many Jedi it was at the beginning. Again, it goes back to the whole, is this just Revenge of the Sith? Because it felt very much like Sidious versus the 4 Jedi.
I mean, there was a serious lack of Kit Fisto, but okay.
Yeah.
I mean, because we, like I said, we get like Osha waking up and already see, then she trips over and sees a dead body, and then that's when it like really gets into the fight. And that's what I'm saying, like, his speed was pretty smooth and fluid, that especially, and like these Jedi are very inexperienced, like with Kit Fisto and Plo Koon and everybody that, and all the other Jedi that went in to see Palpatine. I'm not saying Plo Koon was there, but I'm just saying, like, the 4 Jedi that were there, they had experience from the Clone Wars and fighting, and maybe came across, like, I know Kit Fisto went against Dooku and Grievous. Wait, no, not Dooku. He went against Grievous, and Palpatine was just on another level. So Palpatine took out Jedi that were, I don't know how long the Clone Wars lasted up until Revenge of the Sith, but they had quite a bit of battle experience at this point, whereas these Jedi didn't. And what a brutal. I'm going to say all these kills were brutal. Like Jackie getting stabbed 3 times just to make sure she's dead, snapping Jedi Beefcake's neck. And then, not to mention, he does that stab to that one Jedi and force pulls another Jedi behind them and impales both of them at the same time.
That was awesome.
That was cool.
Right.
The reservations I have for this show, I cannot complain about any of the choreography.
Yeah, I think if you took out the dialogue, it would be fine. Because nobody's there to talk to ruin it. But I mean,
I don't know. Chimere's dialogue with Soul, I think, was probably the only thing that actually was good as far as dialogue.
Yeah, I was going to say that the dialogue in this episode has definitely improved. But then to counter that, I think it's because there's not much dialogue in compared to the other episodes. But again, I'm trying to be positive about every aspect of this show because I've done 4 episodes where I've been really positive, and I'm still really positive, and I'm eager to find out where we go from here now that we know who the Master is and all of that. But I think in the back of my head now, it's like there's 3 episodes left. Where is this going?
That's where I'm with Fluffy, because Fluffy said from here on out, like, we can't see how the show's going to end. The same way, I can't see how it's going to end either. Like, I really don't know how these next episodes are going to be interesting. Like, they can be really good because Osha and May switch places, or they're going to be really boring and really bad.
The only way I will be happy at the end of this show is that in the very last episode of the season, they reveal that Chimere is not actually the Master, but it's the apprentice, and the Master is someone we did not expect at all. Or
Yoda.
I actually started thinking that it could be May and Osha's mom.
I don't think necessarily her mom, but maybe the weird alien chick. The Dathomir lady.
Yeah, that's their basically biological mom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it could be one of the two. The mother of the witches or the crazy angry one.
Because there is no reason if either Chimere is also from that witches people, so on and so forth, because there is no other reason for Osha to mention that her mom could also mind control the Jedi.
That's the one thing that I've noticed with this series is like when they do the dialogue, there's really no foreshadowing, or they're trying to foreshadow that it becomes so obvious. It's like, yeah, let's say this to foreshadow this, but in reality, we're actually saying it, and the audience isn't fooled. Because Chimera was completely obvious from the start. And also very interesting thought. So he's been with May on the first 2 kills. Then he kills the 3rd one for her.
Yeah.
And he's already said she's failed because she has used the kunai to kill the Indara, and then the poison the 2nd time, and then 3rd one she doesn't even kill. What do you think would have happened if Soul dies and she's failed every kill by doing exactly what he didn't, by doing the opposite of what he said? Do you think he would have still kept her or killed her? Or would he say that she succeeded? Based off of the dialogue that we had with him as Khmer from the previous episodes.
It would be, probably that she succeeded and will take her place by his side. But that does raise a question, though: is why is it the 4 Jedi that went to get the girls? But
I think that's just May's thing. I think it's strictly between Sol and Kamir that has the issue.
The problem
for-
is, why would he then choose a potential acolyte who has such strong but vague connections to Jedi if he wants to
Mhm.
remain anonymous, wield his power, be the puppet master, whatever that is? That does not make sense. So, in my opinion, Chimere has his own personal motive agenda to be doing
Mhm.
this. That's why I think we are going to get a flashback of his past and see what his deal is with Sol. I have an extremely extreme theory as well, but if that is the case, then people will hate this show and destroy Star Wars and Disney for the foreseeable future.
I mean,
So
they're already doing.
And this is what will make it hard for me, is because there's 3 episodes left. We have a lot of things that we got to tie up. We got to tie up Sol and Kamir's connection. We got to see May's side and Sol's side to what happened with May and Osha and that whole coven. Not to mention to tie up Osha and May switching places. There's a lot of story to cover right now with 3 episodes left.
Yeah.
So they'd have to tie Kamir to the Witch Coven to make it make sense without it feeling rushed. Because then now you're focusing on his story arc and then May and Osha's story arc. So if they don't tie them together, like maybe he's on the planet when all this stuff happens, and maybe crazy Jedi lady or crazy witch lady finds Kamir as the Jedi are leaving, and then she teaches him the dark magic and stuff like that, and then he just kind of grows up from that, and he finds May. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's just really hard to see where they're going to go with it, just because you wipe out half the characters. It just leaves a very limited amount of directions you can go.
Yeah.
Definitely. I honestly cannot guess anything at this point. I just hope, because after, as I said, in the 4th episode, I believed Chimere would be so obvious that he had to be a red herring, but he actually turned out to be the dark side user. If things turn out to be so obvious for the rest of the show too, I'll be very disappointed.
So overall, really good episode, guys, considering it took 4 episodes for us to get here. And I'm just hoping that the show will remain with this same momentum, which I feel it's going to slow down a little bit. So we got 3 more episodes, guys. So stay tuned, and we'll be covering them over the next few weeks. So remember, before you leave us now, jump down into the description below and check out our link tree. You can find all of our social media, where you got a great group of, we got a great community of fans that you guys can be a part of. And also be sure to check out our storefronts. We got entertainmentearth.com and our Teespring, where you can find a lot of cool clothing and a lot of cool collectibles. So until next time, guys, may the Force
be with you.
Always.